Welcome to 15 minutes of consulting firm best practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and as you can tell, I'm by myself today. David is on vacation. If you're new to us, we answered your most pressing questions about your consulting firm and provide tips and best practices that can help you grow your firm and move it forward. We'd like to keep it very interactive. Please write in the comments your thoughts, your questions, and I'll address them today. And if not, next time. All right, let's get started. Jump in right away. Deidre, can you please show us the first question for today? Okay. Dan asked, I was on an introductory call with a prospect and two people from the consulting firm that introduced us. All right. I would become a subcontractor. It was like herding cats. Ay, ay, ay. Do you have any advice for this situation, Dan? You bet. Anytime you have an opportunity to make others look good, you should take it. So for the purpose of today, let's assume what Dan is explaining is that people were speaking in different dimensions, that there were no clear outcomes, and the conversation was going everywhere. So you are allowed to say, okay, let's backtrack for a second. I hear you're addressing many topics. Then you turn to the client and you can ask, what would make the rest of this conversation valuable and helpful? That's one way that you can make also the consulting firm that is sitting at the table look good, right? You're accomplishing what the client wants. You're providing value to the client. Another way that you can add value and address the conversation is to say, look, let me repeat back what I heard. And at the end, you correct me if what I said was wrong, or if any part of what I said was wrong. That way, you're reframing, you're organizing talking points, and you're hopefully creating some structure around the conversation between the prospect and the consulting firm and yourself as well. And demonstrating not only expertise, but also a good amount of listening in that. If you make the consulting firm look good, you'll all look good. If the client looks good or the prospect looks good, you'll all have better outcomes at the end. All right, on to the next question, Deidre. All right, how do I differentiate between my network core and others in my firm? If someone else in my firm has a person in their network core, can that person also be in mine? How do we not cross wires? And this question is from Ben. Thank you, Ben. It's a very relevant question, particularly in firms where you're doing a lot of networking. And hello, thank you for dropping a note and saying hi. All right, so should a prospect be in the network core of two or more folks in the same consulting firm? Yes, they should also be in your network core, Ben. The difference is you will jointly determine with whomever else has that person in their network core, who's the primary kind of point of contact for that prospect, and who will reach out for periodic outreaches, and who will reach out, say, with additional information or information about events that you're doing and things like that. So you'll tag team it so that your prospect does not get overwhelmed with outreaches. And at the same time, you ensure both contacts are alive. All right. Hopefully that makes sense and we can keep moving on. All right. Question number 3, Deidre. Do you ever remove people from your pipeline? Or does a B relationship ever become a C? Okay, so a bit of background here. In our view of the world, you have what we call your network core. Your network core is made out of decision makers and influencers that have a very warm relationship for you, the decision makers and the influencers, and decision makers that have a semi warm relationship to you, which is what we call your B1s. So how do we define level of warmth, right? So your A relationships are very warm. These are folks who are likely to call you back. Your B relationships are folks who are 40% likely to call you back. And the 1 and the 2 represent their level of decision maker and their level of influence. So in your network core, you want your A1, warm decision makers, your A2s, warm influencers, and your B1, semi-warm decision makers. Having said that, do you remove someone from your pipeline? What we suggest is you remove them from the network core. So if they know you, but they won't call you back over an extended period of time, then the time has come to qualify them as a C. Folks you know may not know you, but won't call you back. What that does is that it keeps you in outreach with folks who are have the ability to make decisions and are closer enough to you. It also gives you a better view of how big your network core actually is, and it keeps your interactions focused. Whether you remove them from, say, your actual CRM system or not is a different question. We have a tendency not to remove folks from our CRM system. However, because they're no longer in our network core, they won't come up into our next steps for outreach. And that's how you do it. All right. Question number 4, Deidre, please. What's next? How should solo entrepreneurs navigate the first 3 months from building their practice to finding clients? Tanisha. Thank you, Tanisha, for your question. This is one where I'm going to ask, as you have comments, folks who are listening to this and have navigated, please put in your insights in the comments. How did you navigate your first 3 months? We're curious. So in thinking about the first 3 months of your consulting firm's lifespan, you focus first on getting that first client. In parallel, we want you to be thinking of very basic things along the 4 elements of what we call the 4-part consulting firm model, which is the basis. It applies to every single consulting firm, from a solopreneur who's just starting all the way to $100 million boutique firms. What are the 4 elements, you might ask? First element, and it's the one that wraps around everything, is strategic health. Here, Tanisha, during the first 3 months, we suggest you work on what we call the problemeter. Basically, you're defining what are the right people, what are the right issues that you're going to address, and where is the need in the market that you're going to resolve. This ensures you are 100% zoned in on impact. And that's what you will tackle during the first 3 months in strategic health. Then we have the spinning wheel of winning engagements and profitably creating value. So for winning engagements, identify your network core. Coincidentally, one of the questions we just talked about, folks were asking, do I keep somebody in? Do I take it out? Reference that and read about our network core. It's a worthwhile exercise and the basis of all your outreach. Identify who's in there, who should be in your network core, who are the decision makers for your area of impact, and who are the influencers that you're close with for your area of impact. Once you have done that, the second thing you're going to do in the winning engagement element of the model is to start your outreach. Put yourself out there, maintain those relationships warm, create conversations for you and for your firm. In profitably creating value, which is the second element of that spinning wheel, what we want you to do is to create a minimum delivery standard. For example, what's your commitment to responsiveness? What format are you going to use to deliver your work? How are you going to structure your core offerings, and start thinking along those lines. And in terms of infrastructure, which is the fourth element that is at the base of everything, it's very basic. Have an email address in place that it's not at Gmail or at Yahoo, right? Because that will be a really quick tell that you're starting out. And create your domain, purchase it, and have a placeholder webpage with your photo, the name of your firm, and a way for folks to contact you. At this point, that's what you need to do. Ensure your LinkedIn profile matches that, so that when people look you up, they don't find that you're working at XYZ company where you used to work until a few weeks ago. If you do that, you will be golden. And it's a great way to start. So notice the emphasis is on finding your narrow area of impact. And we suggest it's very narrow and that it showcases your expertise, and on getting emotion with your network and your network core. If all of this sounds unfamiliar, two sources for you. David's Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients. It's one, which is his book. You can find it on Amazon, and you can go to our webpage, find it there, and the articles that he publishes every week, which have a lot of scripts and a lot of content for reference. All right. There's a person here, and I'm sorry I cannot see your name, who suggests joining an accountability group with folks who have been there and can offer guidance or advice. Absolutely. We think having coaches, having mentors, having peers is a fundamental element of success. One of the elements that will provide is another view into challenges you may find, and also alternatives for how to go about answering the situation. That's part of what we do with our clients every day, a group with folks who can support and hold you accountable. Very important wording here. It's also very, very value add. Thank you for that. All right. Another question, Deidre, please. What is a good process to get feedback on results weeks or months after the project is over? For many projects, we deliver some deliverables, and then the client rolls those out to their learners or users over the next few months. Brian, interesting question, Brian. And you highlighted one area that gets often overlooked as an approach for continued business, and also for data gathering and insights and knowledge building. The first element you're going to do is you're going to build feedback loops into your project. That includes getting the ability to go and gather feedback after your project is done, after your deliverables is done. So say, for example, you're delivering on a strategic plan. You will, at the beginning in your proposal and as you're framing your engagement, say, and 1 year after the strategic plan is in motion, we'll come back. We'll look at the map of your initiatives. We'll determine what has gone well and what hasn't. Say you are setting up a chocolate factory, right? And you're optimizing throughput. Again, say at the 6 months mark and at the 12 months mark, we're going to come back and collect data. Clients are amicable to these agreements once you present them early in the process. And also, don't let the project end without having thought and talked about this opportunity. Whether those are paid engagements or free engagements, it will depend on the scope of your contribution and what information the client gets back. Okay, it looks we're at the 29 or 14-minute mark. So before we let you go for today, and thank you for joining me, 3 things, 3 prompts for you. The first one is, if you're not connected here on LinkedIn with David or with myself, please do that. Deidre has placed our handles in the bottom of the page. You have them there. Reach out, connect. We are delighted to be connected with you. Second thing that we ask you to do is that if you haven't subscribed to David's articles, and I mentioned some of them today in passing, please do that. You're in for a treat. They are at davidafields.com/subscribe. And the third request is that you write with your questions. Same way, folks have written so that we can get questions for you today. Write to us at info@davidafields.com. Until then, we are delighted. We'll see you next week. Take care. Take care of your clients. Take care of your firm. And remember, consulting, it's all about them. Nice seeing you. Bye.